Question 3. We're looking at the impact that the control deficiencies will have on the further audit procedures. So this is the response for the group auditors in relation to the group financial statements. Now, understandably, guys, the consolidated financial statements will include the component financial statements, and we can't accept the components audit plan testing controls that do not work and then accept that the figures that they're putting in the financials are correct. So although I know we are going to have to look at it from a group level 2 and the group audit plan, but initially we have to go back down to the component auditors and say, hey, the controls are not working. How are you going to address that? And tell them what they need to do to address the fact that the controls are not working. And once they have gone and done their work and it's been brought into the consolidated financials at a group level, we can look at our audit plan and do combined approach so that we do test the controls. Okay, I just want to take you into ISA 330 to show you how you would work through that standard for the audit plan and to find the answers that where controls are not working, how we need to address that in terms of the audit plan. ISA 330, the auditor's responses to assessed risks. I come straight to the requirements. We've got responses for overall, and we've got responses for the assessed risk at assertion level. Guys, I have highlighted overall and A1 to show you, don't even worry about going to paragraph 5, go straight to A1. So if I'm doing responses to the risks and overall financial statement level, I'm going straight to paragraph A1. We are doing responses to the risk at the assertion level, so I'm going to paragraph 6. Paragraph 6 says you have to design and perform audit procedures whose nature, timing, and extent is responsive to those risks. I've highlighted A4 to A8 because A4 says you need to, 1, determine the audit approach. Gives you the examples. We know that we can only choose between B and C, substantive or combined. So now it's important to go and see, do they give me information in the question to justify testing the controls, in which case I'm going to choose the combined approach, or rather focusing on substantive. What I will add is that I have to perform substantive because it is a material class of transaction, account balance or disclosure, as we are auditing only material accounts. The nature I will then go and discuss, test of controls if I choose the combined and substantive, or just substantive if I choose substantive approach. And then I've got to look at the timing and the extent. Come back down, it says things that I do need to consider is the inherent and the control risk, because that is going to help me to determine if I do want to go with the combined approach. So my risk assessment is going to affect the procedures, and it also explains to me here that I might find that for different assertions, the different type of procedure is more applicable, test of control or substantive. My point is to lower the risks. In terms of the timing, I need to look at the 2 periods, interim and year end, or just period end. And just note, the higher the risk, the more I'd like to do it at later stage or at unpredictable time. So I'm going to include these under my timing. If I'm able to come in at an early stage, it might help us to identify areas that need to have resolutions. But things I can only do at year end, agreeing the financials and looking at certain adjustments. Okay, extent, I need to consider the materiality. Do I need to increase or decrease it based on the risk? Because that's going to help me to determine my sample size. And if they've got that computer information system, I'm going to remember to discuss CATs. Where I've decided to go with a combined approach, justification for that would be because I expect the controls to work, or or substantive alone will not give me the evidence. And we know that that says if there's a computer information system. In terms of my nature, I need to discuss how the controls are going to be performed, but I don't need to give all the different examples. So guys, under the nature for test of controls, we are going to discuss they've got controls, they have a computer information system, so I'd like to do that. Maybe there's a high volume justifying me going with a combined approach. There's many other reasons why I would choose. We're going to discuss them as we go through this. In terms of the timing, I have to test them throughout the period, and then I can discuss, am I going to come interim and year end or just year end, depending on the information in the scenario. If I come at interim, there must be no changes to the control between interim and year end, and I have to go and test that period. Using audit evidence obtained from previous, so this is going to affect either, I could put it under nature or extent, but it's a justification for going with the controls because I can do less work in the current year. So once again, time consuming, saving, or it saves me time. It's not time consuming. And then things I need to consider though, if I do this, is effectiveness of IT controls if they have IT controls. But for me to do it, I must make sure that there have been no changes and it has at least been tested in 1 in every 3 audits. I put this stuff down, guys, because I'm justifying why I'm going with a test of control approach. However, if I know that the account balance or class of transaction that I'm testing is significant, I cannot do this. So I'm going to say I will test the controls in the year because it's a significant risk that it is addressing. Then I get to substantive procedures. If I've chosen a combined, I still need to discuss my nature and timing and extent of substantive. If I've chosen a substantive, then I need to justify why I've done that. Because it's a material class of transaction balance or disclosure, I must do substantive procedures, and I could include external confirmations if it is an account balance or class of transaction that allows for a third party. Substantive procedures that I will do after year end, reconciling to the accounting records and journal entries, and if it is a significant risk, I have to state again another reason for doing substantive procedures. So guys, I will have 2 justifications for doing substantive. It's a material class of transaction, account balance or disclosure, and it's a significant risk. Okay, my timing, I could come at an interim and year end, or I could come just at year end. Again, based on that risk, we would determine the timing. And extent, well, if we thought that the controls were going to work, it would influence my extent of the substantive procedures. Okay, so guys, I've just come to the information just so that I can make sure that I'm going to address everything. There's control deficiencies over authorization and approval of IT infrastructure for the component, the subsidiary. Okay. However, the subsidiary has been told that this was authorized at a group level. So at a group level, it's considered that maybe the controls are working, or based on our understanding here, that there shouldn't be control deficiencies at the group level. So how do we respond? What is going to be the impact on the further audit procedures required in relation to the consolidated financial statements? So I'm in question 3, and I'm going to state, controls at the subsidiary are not effective. Therefore, the audit plan for the component auditors should be adjusted as follows. The audit approach changed to a substantive approach because reliance cannot be placed on controls. Therefore, the nature of further order procedures should be changed as follows. They need to do substantive test of detail, procedures, and analytical procedures. There must be no testing of controls, at least specifically for IT infrastructure purchases. They do have a computer information system, so CATs can also be used because they have that page computer information system. Then, the timing of further audit procedures should be changed as follows. More testing at or nearer to year end, and the extent of the further audit procedures changed as follows. To increase test of detail procedures, and we need to do less analytical. We need to do increased sample sizes. And I need to say, if I'm increasing the sample size, decrease materiality component. Because this is for the component. Those are the changes that need to be made at the subsidiary for the component auditors by the group auditors. Then, the controls are expected to be operating effectively at a group level. Therefore, the audit plan for the group will be a combined audit approach, which means I will be doing nature of my testing, test of controls, and substantive test of detail and analytical procedures. In terms of my timing, when I'm testing controls, the controls must be tested throughout the period. An extent, I'm going to do increased test of controls. I'll do increased analytical procedures if the controls are working. And I'll do less test of detail. And that's the effect on the plan for both the group and the subsidiary. Let's go have a look at the solution.